Okay, so how many of us ever have something that you want to change about yourself? That you sit there and you think, oh, I wish I could be this person, or I wish I could have this trait, or I wish I could do this better, right? Thank you for being so responsive, but obviously. And the quote that I have ties into that. The quote is, "A man is known by the company his mind keeps," and that's by Aldrich. And what that quote is really saying is, you are what you think about. And so like I was saying, you want to get better, you want to change yourself. You're obviously going to have to start thinking like that new person. But what I'm going to talk about, you are what you think about. I'm going to talk about basically how that affects your aspirations, what you think about, and how that affects maybe traumatic experiences, whether it's like a dating situation or whatever, and also how it affects your social life and interaction with everybody else. First of all, your aspirations. Like I said, if you want to be better at something, like, oh, I wish I was as good at piano as that guy is. He has such a head start on me. It's so hard to get to that level. I just need to practice and practice. But so often we think like, oh, well, okay, well, I just need to practice and do it. But so much more of it is what your mind is engaged in all the time. If you wanted to learn that, you have to start, even though you're not familiar with it, and it's hard for you to maybe think about concepts of piano, for instance, and trying to understand it so that you can play it better. It's not just when you're sitting there practicing, like, oh, whatever this song, I can play this song and get better at piano. It's like you have to be actively engaged in that task the whole time and thinking about all sorts of abstract connections that are going to help you with that as you keep going, because all your knowledge is just going to keep building, and that's the only way to get it. So basically for that, just be really involved mentally in your aspirations, and don't expect practice or something to get you where you need to be. Secondly, I'm going to talk about relationships and how maybe dealing with a hardship like a breakup or something, how different states of mind and different things that you think about can really affect your person and yourself in that time frame, and for however long it depends on what you're thinking about, how long it affects you. Because when you break up with somebody, there's often like two different parts of you warring. Like there's the one part that wants to be with them maybe, and is sad that you're not with them, and you're like longing for that connection or something. And that person, when you're in that state of mind, all you want to think about is like the bad things and how bad everything is, and it makes you feel worse and worse and worse, and you keep thinking about it. But then there's the other side where it's like you can think of all the possibilities that you have now that you're free to do whatever you want and single. And I think it's important to realize that we can choose what we think about, and even though we're forcing ourselves to think about certain things, that helps us, leads us on to better thoughts, to happier thoughts, and just applies to the rest of our entire experience. And tying into what I'm going to say third about interacting with people in general. When you're happy and you're having a good day, you're interacting with people much better, and you're thinking about better things, and everything just seems better, right? But when you're not, when you're having a bad day, it's like you just shut everything out. And say an opportunity came up on your bad day that you had, and you weren't accepting that idea, or you weren't open to it because you were so closed in your thoughts that you had right there, and you were dwelling on something you can't really change, or whatever. So you need to think positively, and to always be thinking about something that is important, or that is going to help you. That's going to help you. I mean, hopefully you understand what I mean. Thinking. It's kind of hard to put in the right words, but yeah, I mean, you've felt that build-up. Like when you're thinking about good things, they lead on to other things, and I've said that before. And it's important to know, basically, that is what we have control over, and you can make yourself think about certain things and affect your whole life just by that, and not dwelling on bad things. So I'm talking about the active state of mind, and how we are thinking about things. I've talked about maybe learning a new skill, and how you should be more involved in it and really passionate about it if you want to learn it. And I've talked about relationships and how it's better to focus on the good things that that are going to help you than the bad things that you can't really change. And then social interaction, where if you're talking to other people and you need to be thinking about positive things and be thinking about positive so that you can feed that to other people and then you feed it back to you. And your life just gets so much better if you keep good mind company, as Aldrich would say. Is there like a discard pile, or
you keep that? That's yours. Souvenir for the day. I'll sign it for you for $5. And then you have a real souvenir. There you go. All right, Jackson, I think you start off pretty well. You've got a nice rhetorical question. You tie into the quote reasonably well. Your goals set up fairly clearly. I'm not sure that you're always focused on what it was that you started off talking about during your examples, but you do talk about the examples exuberantly, and you seem to be engaged in them. They are organized, so that because there was a preview and you're following that structure pretty well, it works fine. Your voice, like I said, projects very effectively, and you've got some good energy there to start with. You sometimes tend to drop your voice as a way to get attention or to pull us in, but I think you do it a little too often. There are lots of indicators and descriptive gestures, so you look animated and look like you're trying to engage the audience. Your facial expressions are pretty vivid. Your body movement is limited. You're mostly swiveling at the hips, and so I think you could step forward a couple of times. In fact, I'm going to make a comment about that in just a second. It went you went the whole time, so you were clearly using all the time, but it felt a little bit in that last section like you got lost. You were quite focused on what the point was. Maybe you were having trouble finding that point, and then at the end, you had a summary, but it felt like you just kind of, I'm done, sort of thing, and you found an easy exit and went with it. I like that you came back to the quote, but then you kind of just drop your whole voice and finish off.
Drop my voice, you mean like the volume?
Yeah. Yeah, it drops out. When you're talking sometimes, and you're talking like this, and then, this sometimes goes out, and you're doing that, and you do that a little more than I think is necessary. A couple of times is fine, but I think you're doing it pretty regularly.